The scent of spring lilacs filled the small apartment, but for Clara, it carried no warmth. The first email of the morning was from her mother, short, casual, as if it didn't carry a blade. Emily's wedding date is finally confirmed. June 14th, she's so excited. Hope you're doing well, sweetie. No mention of an invitation. No, we'd love to have you there. Just a simple, polite notification that her younger sister's perfect life was about to take another step forward. Clara reread the message several times, her eyes scanning for hidden meaning, something between the lines that said she was wanted. But there was nothing. She placed her phone on the counter, letting out a shaky breath as the morning light slid across her kitchen table, the one she'd bought secondhand after moving out 5 years ago. The same year Emily graduated college and their parents threw her a lavish party. The familiar ache of comparison twisted in Clara's stomach. It had always been this way. Emily, the golden child, the one who made their parents beam with pride. Clara, the afterthought, the quiet one, the one who had to understand when her needs were pushed aside. She opened her laptop, scrolling through social media while sipping coffee that had gone cold. Her feed was flooded with wedding excitement. Can't wait to celebrate Emily and Nathan. So proud of my best friend. Bridal shower was amazing. Clara's heart sank further with each post. She hadn't been invited to the bridal shower either. Not a call, not a message, nothing. She clicked on one of the photos, Emily standing in a soft pink dress, surrounded by bridesmaids, her smile radiant and confident. The caption read, "The future Mrs. Hayes." Nathan stood beside her in a few shots, tall, handsome, and smiling with a kind of arrogance that made Clara uneasy. She'd met him twice before, once at a family dinner where he'd barely looked at her when she spoke, and once at Christmas, when he'd jokingly told her she should try to be more like Emily if she ever wanted to keep a man. That had been the night Clara left early and didn't return home for holidays again. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father this time. "Hope you're keeping busy. Your sister's been planning nonstop. Wedding's going to be beautiful. Maybe you could send a little card?" Clara stared at the screen until her vision blurred. A card. Not a presence, not a seat at the ceremony, just a card. That evening, she sat by her window as the city lights flickered on outside. Her best friend Mia called to check in. "Did you get the invite yet?" Mia asked gently, her voice tentative. Clara gave a bitter laugh. "No, and I think that's the point." Mia hesitated. "I'm so sorry, Clara. You don't deserve this." "I keep telling myself it's fine," Clara murmured, tracing circles on her coffee mug. That maybe she just forgot. Or maybe the invitations got delayed. But deep down, I know she didn't want me there. You tried to reach out to her after Christmas, remember? You sent her that long message. "Yeah," Clara said softly. "And she left it on scene." Silence settled between them, heavy and familiar. "She's always been their favorite," Mia said finally. Clara's throat tightened. "I used to think it was just me being dramatic. But maybe I was just wrong about how much I mattered to them." That night, Clara scrolled through Emily's page again, unable to look away. The posts grew more glamorous each day. Dress fittings, cake tastings, engagement parties. Every detail felt like salt on a wound, but beneath the curated perfection, Clara noticed something. A stiffness in Emily's smile whenever Nathan stood too close. A tension in her shoulders that wasn't there before. Maybe it was her imagination. Or maybe, just maybe, her sister wasn't as happy as she wanted the world to believe. Still, Clara pushed the thought away. She'd learned the hard way that Emily didn't appreciate her concern the last time she'd tried to talk to her about Nathan's temper. When she overheard him raising his voice at Emily outside their parents' house, Emily had snapped, "Stop pretending to care, Clara. You're just jealous I have someone who loves me." That sentence had stayed with her for months. Now, as she watched the countdown posts, 10 days until forever, she whispered to herself. Then forever without me, I guess. On the night of the rehearsal dinner, Clara received a family group text. Photos, laughter, wine glasses clinking, her mother wearing pearls, her father's proud grin, Emily glowing under fairy lights, not a single mention of her absence. Clara set the phone down, the loneliness pressing against her ribs like a weight she couldn't lift. She wanted to be angry, but anger required energy, and she was just tired. Still, somewhere inside, a quiet whisper stirred, a strange, unexplainable worry. It wasn't jealousy this time. It was dread. Something about Nathan's smile in those photos, too perfect, too rehearsed, made her uneasy. But what could she do? She wasn't invited. She wasn't part of that world anymore. As the night grew quiet, Clara sat alone, staring at the unopened bottle of champagne she'd bought weeks ago, the one she had planned to bring to her sister's wedding. With a heavy sigh, she placed it back in the fridge and whispered to the empty room, "Maybe it's better this way, outside." The city hummed softly, unaware that by the next sunrise, Clara's absence would become the very reason her world would collide once again with her sister's, in a way neither of them could ever have imagined. The morning of Emily's wedding dawned bright and full of the kind of sunlight that photographers call perfect lighting. Clara watched the rays spill into her apartment, cutting across the floor in golden slants. It should have been a beautiful day. For someone else it was. She sat cross-legged on the couch, a steaming mug of tea in her hands, her phone resting face down on the table, as if that could stop the world from reminding her of what she wasn't part of. But curiosity, that quiet ache of belonging, won. She picked it up. The first thing she saw was Emily's name, tagged in dozens of photos, stories, and live streams. Hashtags bloomed across her screen. Happily, ever after, Emily and Nathan. The Hayes wedding, Clara scrolled. There was the venue, an elegant country estate wrapped in vines and white roses, a string quartet, a champagne fountain, guests in pastel dresses and tailored suits. Her parents, radiant and proud, posing with the bride and groom beneath an archway of flowers. Clara froze at the sight. Her mother, in a pale blue gown. Her father beaming with a glass raised high. And between them, Emily, glowing in lace and pearls, the kind of beauty that belonged on magazine covers. There was no sign of tension, no hint of the distance that had split the family. If someone had shown her these pictures without context, she might have believed they were the happiest family in the world. Her thumb hovered over the screen, her chest tight. "She really didn't want me there," she whispered. She spent the next few hours doing everything she could to distract herself. Laundry, cleaning, reading. But every few minutes, her mind slipped back to the same question. What's happening now? By mid-afternoon, curiosity became unbearable. She opened Instagram again and found herself watching short clips from the wedding ceremony. Emily walked down the aisle, arm in arm with their father, smiling nervously. Nathan stood at the altar, straight-backed and polished, his smile wide and rehearsed. Clara watched, her stomach twisting. She wanted to be happy for her sister, truly, but there was something in Nathan's eyes that unsettled her. Something hollow and hard, even as he said his vows. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Mia. "Are you seeing this? It's insane how big that wedding is." "Yeah," Clara replied. "I'm just watching from here." "I wish I could hug you right now." Clara smiled weakly, typing back, "Me too." The ceremony ended. Guests threw rose petals. Laughter filled every post. Then came the reception, a blur of dancing, music, and endless toasts. She watched one clip where Nathan kissed Emily's forehead as everyone clapped. Perfect. So perfect it hurt. But then, in another clip, one just a few seconds long, she noticed something small. Nathan's hand on Emily's waist. The way she flinched slightly before forcing a smile. It was so subtle, so fleeting. Most people wouldn't have noticed. But Clara did. She always noticed. Her chest tightened. She wanted to shake the feeling off, the unease, the pit in her stomach. But it wouldn't go away. Memories of Nathan's sharp tone, the controlling way he once ordered Emily to lower her voice at dinner, came rushing back. Clara shut off her phone and stood by the window, watching clouds drift lazily across the sky. She's fine, she told herself. She's happy. Don't ruin it for her again. Still, that faint dread lingered. As the evening deepened, fireworks lit up social media. Literally. Someone had posted a story of the newlyweds watching fireworks explode over the garden. Emily clapped her hands like a child, laughing, her face bathed in flickering colors. For a moment, Clara smiled. Maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe Emily had found her fairy tale after all. Then her phone rang. Her mother. Clara hesitated before answering. "Hey, Mom." Her mother's voice was cheerful, a little tipsy. "Clara, darling, it's such a wonderful night. Everything's perfect." "I can see that," Clara said quietly. "Oh, you're watching online? Isn't Emily stunning? Nathan's such a gentleman. You'd be so proud if you were here." The words hit her harder than she expected. If you were here. Not I wish you were here. Not we missed you. Just if. "I'm happy for her," Clara managed to say. "That's my girl," her mother said brightly. "You'll have your turn one day." When the call ended, Clara set her phone down and exhaled slowly. The apartment felt too quiet now, too still. Outside, laughter drifted up from a nearby bar, strangers celebrating something she would never be part of. She poured herself a glass of wine and turned on the TV, flipping through channels without seeing anything. Hours passed. Eventually, she fell asleep on the couch, her phone still glowing beside her with endless photos of a wedding she was never invited to. And then, just before dawn, a faint ping pulled her awake. Another notification, another message, but this time, it wasn't a picture. It was a link. "Have you seen this video?" Still half asleep, Clara clicked it. The screen filled with shaky footage, someone's phone recording the reception. Emily and Nathan on the dance floor surrounded by guests, laughter, music, and then a sharp sound, gasps, screams. Clara's heart stopped. The clip froze on a single image, Nathan's hand raised. Emily's face turned in shock. The video title read, "Groom slaps bride at wedding reception. Guests horrified." Her mug slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. The perfect wedding she'd been forced to watch from the sidelines had just exploded into a nightmare, one the whole world was about to see. The video played over and over again, each time more unbearable than the last. At first, Clara thought it had to be fake, a cruel prank, some kind of edit made by gossip-hungry strangers online. But no matter which angle she watched, no matter how many re-uploads she checked, it was the same. Nathan, red-faced, shouting something inaudible at Emily before raising his hand and striking her. The sound of the slap cracked through the speakers like thunder. Then chaos, guests gasping, someone screaming, camera phones jerking wildly. The clip ended abruptly, but the echo of that moment seemed to fill the silence of Clara's apartment. Her hands shook as she set the phone down. Her throat felt tight, her heart pounding so loudly she could hear it. "No," she whispered, as if saying it aloud might undo what she saw. No, that can't be real. But it was. It was real enough that the internet had already turned it into a spectacle. Dozens of reposts. Hundreds of comments. Shocking. Bride slapped at her own wedding. Does anyone know who they are? Clara's stomach churned as she watched the views climb by the second. She recognized the venue, the floral arch, the same string quartet she'd seen in the photos just hours earlier. And then, Emily's face, caught in a still frame mid-reaction, her eyes wide and tearful. Her sister. Her baby sister. The phone buzzed again. It was Mia. "Clara, are you seeing this? Tell me it's not Emily." "It's her," Clara typed back, her fingers trembling. "It's real." Seconds later, Mia called. "Oh my God, Clara, what happened?" "Did you talk to her? Is she okay?" "I don't know. No one's answering." "Have you called your parents?" "Yes," she swallowed. Straight to voicemail. The call ended, and Clara stood frozen in her living room, surrounded by fragments of her shattered coffee mug. The sound of the slap replayed in her mind again and again. She tried calling Emily, but every ring ended the same way. Voicemail. She tried their parents again, then again, until finally her mother's voice came through the line, shaky and distant. "Mom," Clara said quickly. "What's going on?" "I saw the video." Her mother cut her off, her tone sharp, defensive. "Clara, please. This isn't the time." "What do you mean it's not the time?" "He hit her." "In front of everyone?" "It's complicated. The situation just got out of hand." "Out of hand?" "He slapped her, Mom." Her mother sighed heavily. "Please don't make things worse. The media is already swarming the venue. Your father's trying to calm things down." Clara's chest filled with disbelief. "You're worried about the media?" "Your daughter was assaulted at her wedding." There was silence. Then her mother's voice softened just slightly, tired and hollow. "Emily doesn't want to talk to anyone right now. Just give her space." "Where is she?" "She's resting." "Where?" "Clara," her mother snapped. "This is not your concern right now." The call ended. Clara stood in stunned silence, her fingers still gripping the phone. Not her concern? How could it not be? By afternoon, the story had spread everywhere. Major gossip accounts picked it up. News outlets were tagging it, "Wedding Gone Wrong." The video had crossed 1 million views. Comment sections overflowed with strangers dissecting every second. Some pitied Emily, others mocked her. Some even defended Nathan, calling it a moment of stress. Clara wanted to scream. She opened her laptop, searching for any update, a statement, a post, anything from Emily. But there was nothing. Her sister's social media had gone dark. She leaned back in her chair, tears welling up. The anger inside her burned so hot it scared her. Because beneath it was something worse, guilt, the kind that hollowed you out. You knew something was wrong, she thought. You saw it in his eyes. You tried to warn her once and you gave up. The guilt pressed down on her chest until she couldn't breathe. She grabbed her keys and purse, her movements sharp and desperate. She didn't know where she was going, just that she had to move. The drive to her parents' house felt endless. She rehearsed what she would say, how she would demand answers. Every traffic light felt like an enemy. When she finally pulled into their driveway, the house looked the same. Calm, quiet, perfectly kept. But everything inside her screamed that nothing was fine. Through the window, she could see her father pacing in the living room, his phone pressed to his ear. Her mother sat stiffly on the couch, her face pale, eyes red. When Clara stepped through the door, both of them froze. "Clara, this isn't a good time," her father said immediately. She ignored him. "Where's Emily?" "She doesn't want to see anyone," her mother replied. "I don't care what she wants right now. She needs someone who actually cares about her." "Enough," her father snapped. "You showing up here will only make things worse. The press is already sniffing around. We don't need more drama," Clara laughed bitterly. "Drama?" She was humiliated in front of the world, and all you care about is your reputation. Her mother stood up, trembling. "Clara, please." "Not now." But Clara's voice rose, shaking with fury. "You didn't even invite me, remember? I wasn't supposed to be part of this family circus. But now that everything's falling apart, suddenly I'm the problem?" The house fell silent. Her father looked away. Her mother's lips trembled, but she said nothing. "Where is she?" Clara demanded. Her father exhaled heavily. She checked into a hotel after the reception. "She doesn't want to talk to anyone, especially you." Clara's jaw clenched, her pulse hammering. "Then I'll make her talk to me." She turned and walked out, the door slamming behind her. As she drove toward the city, the last light of dusk fading in the rearview mirror, one thought pulsed through her mind. Raw. Unstoppable. She might hate me, but she's still my sister, and I'm not letting her go through this alone. The city glowed with restless light as Clara's car sliced through the evening traffic. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles had gone pale. The hotel her father mentioned wasn't far. A high-end place downtown, where guests were anonymous and the curtains always stayed drawn. She parked outside and stared up at the glass facade, her heart hammering against her ribs. Part of her wanted to turn back. To respect the space everyone seemed so desperate to give. Emily, but another part, the part that had watched that video a dozen times with tears streaming down her face, couldn't walk away. She marched through the hotel lobby, ignoring the curious glances of the concierge as she asked for Emily Hayes's room. The receptionist hesitated, clearly torn about whether to release information, until Clara said, "I'm her sister." Her voice cracked on the last word. Something in her tone, that blend of urgency and heartbreak, must have convinced him, because a moment later, she was in the elevator, floor number glowing softly above her. When the doors opened, she stood in the quiet hallway, carpet muffling her footsteps. "Room 612, she knocked once. Then again, no answer. Emily?" She called softly, still nothing. She was about to leave when she heard it. A faint shuffle, the sound of movement. Then the lock clicked. The door opened just enough for Clara to see her sister's face. Emily looked like a ghost of herself. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair unkempt, makeup smudged in streaks down her cheeks. A bruise, faint but visible, bloomed along her left cheekbone. For a moment, neither spoke. "Clara." Emily's voice was small, hoarse. "I came as soon as I saw the video," Clara said quietly. "I had to." Emily's lip trembled. "You shouldn't be here. I don't care. I needed to see you." There was a long pause. Then, without a word, Emily stepped aside, letting her in. The room was dim, curtains drawn shut against the flashing lights from the paparazzi vans parked below. The air smelled of cold coffee and the faint metallic scent of tears. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders hunched. "It's everywhere, Clara. Everyone's seen it. My face, my humiliation. All over the internet." Clara sat across from her, heartbreaking. "I know, but none of that matters right now. What matters is you." Emily gave a bitter laugh. "Me? I'm ruined. I married a man who embarrassed me in front of the world." Clara hesitated, then reached out, gently touching her sister's hand. "Emily, did he ever hurt you before this?" Emily froze. Her eyes flickered to the floor. Silence. Then, finally, she whispered, "Once. A few months ago. He got angry that I talked to an old friend at a party. He said I was flirting." Clara's stomach twisted. "And you stayed?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. "He apologized. Said it would never happen again." "He cried, Clara. He made me feel like I was the one who provoked him." Clara's voice softened, trembling with a mixture of anger and compassion. "That's what abusers do, Emily. They make you think it's your fault." Emily shook her head. "You don't understand. I loved him. I thought if I married him, it would fix things. That once we were officially together, he'd calm down. Be better." Clara's throat burned. "That's not love, Em. That's fear disguised as hope." Emily buried her face in her hands. "I just wanted to be happy. I wanted Mom and Dad to be proud. They kept saying how perfect Nathan was, how lucky I was. I didn't want to disappoint them." Clara exhaled slowly. "They should have protected you, not pressured you." A tear slipped down Emily's cheek. "I didn't invite you because I knew you'd see it. You'd see how wrong everything was. I couldn't let you look at me with that I told you so face." Clara felt her heart ache. "Emily, I never wanted to be right about him. I just wanted you safe." For a long moment, silence filled the room, the kind that carried years of pain neither had the courage to face before. Then Emily whispered, "I don't know what to do now." "You don't have to figure it out alone," Clara said gently. "You're coming home with me. We'll talk to a lawyer, to someone who can help. You can stay with me until you're ready." Emily hesitated. "Mom and Dad said I should lay low. That we shouldn't make a scene." Clara's eyes hardened. "A scene? He assaulted you, Emily. The scene already happened. You just didn't create it." Emily stared at her sister, the one she'd pushed away, excluded, accused of jealousy, and something in her finally broke. She leaned forward, collapsing into Clara's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Clara held her tight, whispering, It's okay. You're safe now. I've got you. For the first time in years, the walls between them crumbled. The resentment, the jealousy, the silence, all replaced by something raw and real. After what felt like hours, Emily finally pulled back, her eyes swollen but steadier. Do you really think I can start over? Clara smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her sister's face. I think you already have. Outside, flashes from cameras still lit up the night sky, but inside that dim hotel room, something shifted. A fragile moment of healing in the midst of chaos. Clara took Emily's hand, and together they began packing a small suitcase. As they stepped into the hallway, Emily hesitated one last time. He's going to come after me. Clara met her gaze, voice firm. Then he'll have to go through me first. And with that, they walked toward the elevator. Two sisters finally standing on the same side of the storm. The following morning, the world was still on fire, and Emily was at the center of it. News outlets, gossip blogs, YouTube commentary channels. Everyone had their version of the slap heard around the world. Screenshots of the video appeared beside sensational headlines. High society wedding ends in violence. Groom snaps during reception. Bride's reaction breaks hearts. Who is Emily Hayes, the viral bride everyone's talking about? Clara switched off the television, disgusted. They're treating it like entertainment, she muttered. Like your pain is just another headline. Emily sat on the couch beside her, wrapped in one of Clara's oversized sweaters, her eyes tired but dry. It doesn't even feel real anymore, she said softly. It's like I'm watching someone else's life fall apart. You don't have to read any of it, Clara said gently. Emily gave a hollow laugh. It's everywhere. Even when I close my eyes, I can still hear the slap. Clara hesitated, unsure what to say. There was no handbook for something like this, for helping your sister heal from public humiliation and private abuse. But she knew one thing. Silence had done enough damage. We're not hiding, Clara said finally. Not this time. You're not going to disappear just because he couldn't control his temper. Emily looked up, startled. What do you mean? I mean, I'm done letting people protect him. Or anyone like him. I'm going to tell the truth. Emily's voice trembled. Clara, no. Mom and Dad already called me this morning. They said not to say anything to the press. They think if I stay quiet, it'll die down. Clara clenched her fists. Of course they do. They care more about what people will think than what actually happened. That's how they've always been, Emily frowned. They're just scared. So are you, Clara said gently. And that's okay. But you don't have to let fear decide for you anymore. Emily looked down at her hands, the faint mark from Nathan's wedding ring still visible around her finger. He texted me last night, she whispered. From another number. He said it was a misunderstanding, that if I really loved him, I wouldn't ruin his life. Clara's jaw tightened. He's trying to guilt you. Don't answer him. I didn't, Emily said, her voice breaking. But I almost did. Clara reached over and took her sister's hand. You're stronger than you think. They sat in silence for a while, the hum of the refrigerator filling the small apartment. Then Clara stood and grabbed her laptop. If he wants to scare you into silence, he picked the wrong sister. Emily blinked. What are you doing? Posting something, Clara said, her voice steady. The truth. Within minutes, Clara's words began to take shape on the screen. To everyone sharing that video, that's my sister. She was hurt by a man who promised to love and protect her. She didn't deserve that, and no one does. Stop turning her pain into gossip. Domestic violence isn't drama, it's trauma. And I stand with her no matter what anyone says. She paused, looking at Emily. You okay if I post this? Emily hesitated, her eyes glassy. Then slowly she nodded. Yeah, do it. Clara hit post. The message spread faster than she expected. Within hours, thousands of strangers were commenting, offering support, sharing their own stories. The hashtags began to change, from scandal to solidarity. Stand with Emily. No excuse for abuse. For the first time since the wedding, Emily smiled faintly. "People are actually being kind," she whispered. Clara smiled back. "The internet's not all bad, I guess." But not everyone was kind. By afternoon, Clara received an email from her parents. "Clara, take down that post immediately. You're only making things worse for all of us. We can handle this privately." Clara closed the laptop. "Privately?" That's what they said when Dad ignored every red flag. When you told Mom you were scared and she told you to work it out. No, not this time. Emily's eyes welled up. "You knew?" "I suspected," Clara admitted. "But I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe, if I stayed quiet, you'd see it on your own." "I was wrong." Emily reached for her sister's hand. "No, I should have listened when you tried to warn me. I wanted to believe he was perfect because everyone said he was." Clara squeezed her hand. "He's not perfect. But you're still here, and that means you get to start again." The doorbell rang, startling them both. For a moment, Clara's stomach dropped, until she saw a small envelope on the floor. No name, no return address. She tore it open. Inside was a single note in block letters. "Stay quiet, or there will be consequences." Emily's face drained of color. "Is that—" Clara's voice turned cold. "It's him, or someone helping him." She crumpled the note and tossed it into the trash. "Let him try." Emily watched her sister, the one she once dismissed as jealous, distant, unimportant, and realized something. Clara wasn't the quiet one anymore. She was fierce, determined, unafraid. That night, as they sat together watching the city lights flicker outside, Clara turned to her. "You're filing for an annulment tomorrow. I'll go with you. We'll contact a lawyer, maybe the police too. He doesn't get to walk away from this." Emily nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. Not from fear this time, but from relief. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's end this." And for the first time since her wedding day, Emily allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, her future could still belong to her. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds. The first quiet, peaceful morning Emily had known in months. She sat at the kitchen table with a mug of tea, staring out the window as Clara scrolled through her phone across from her. The viral storm hadn't slowed down, but it had changed tone. Messages of support kept flooding in, from survivors, advocates, even strangers who saw Emily's pain and recognized their own. "You're not alone. Thank you for speaking up. You deserve peace." Emily's eyes misted as she read them. "I didn't think people would care," she murmured. "They do," Clara said. "Because your story reminds them of theirs." It had been 3 days since the note arrived. Clara had reported it to the police immediately, and they'd traced it back to an associate of Nathan, his cousin, who claimed he'd acted alone to protect family privacy. He'd been warned to stay away. Nathan himself had gone silent, and his legal team had issued a vague public apology, full of excuses. But Emily didn't need his words anymore. She'd spent too long chasing apologies from people who didn't mean them. That afternoon, they met with a lawyer in a calm, sunlit office downtown. Emily's hands trembled slightly as she signed the annulment papers, but her heart felt strangely steady. When the lawyer asked if she wanted to press charges, Emily hesitated. The thought of courtrooms, cameras, and cross-examinations made her stomach twist. But then she thought of the slap, the look on his face, the humiliation, the silence that followed. "I do," she said finally. "I want to make sure he never does this to anyone else." Clara reached over and squeezed her hand. "I'm proud of you." As they left the office, the autumn air felt crisp and alive. For the first time in a long while, Emily lifted her face to the sky and let the breeze wash over her. It didn't erase the pain, but it reminded her that she could still feel something other than fear. That night, she sat on Clara's balcony with a notebook in her lap. She began to write, not to the world this time, but to herself. "Dear Emily, you survived something you thought would break you. You loved someone who hurt you, and you still found the strength to walk away. You were silenced, shamed, and left behind. But you are still here. That means something. She paused, then added, You don't have to be perfect to start over. You just have to be brave enough to begin. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she closed the notebook. It wasn't closure, not yet, but it was a start. 2 weeks later, Emily decided to attend a local support group for domestic abuse survivors. She almost didn't go. Her nerves nearly sent her home twice. But when she finally walked into the small circle of folding chairs and warm smiles, she felt something shift. When it was her turn to speak, she hesitated. Her voice was shaky at first. I didn't even know it was abuse, she confessed. Not until the video. I thought if I loved him enough, he'd stop. I thought being patient made me strong. But now I know, strength isn't staying silent. It's walking away. The room was silent for a moment. Then one woman nodded, her eyes wet. That's the hardest kind of strength, she said softly. Emily smiled, fragile but real. After the meeting, a young girl, barely out of college, approached her. I saw your story online, she whispered. It made me leave my boyfriend. I just wanted to say thank you. Emily